There's a reason why everyone goes nuts. Everyone's wearing the same t-shirt and things like that. It plays a part into building a community.
Go ahead and ask yourself, is there anything you can do in the gym right now that can make you $400 to $800 an hour?
And the most important thing that gym owners should walk away with right now is doing incentives with their orders.
Welcome to this episode of the Balanced CEO podcast. Really excited. I got my pal Matt Albrizio here. Matt owns Forever Fierce. It's an apparel company. I'm not gonna wax poetically because he's got an amazing pitch on that, so I'm gonna let him kick into it. Matt, you want to tell us about Forever Fierce?
Absolutely. And here's actually a disclaimer on Forever Fierce. I do not own Forever Fierce. I just handle all the sales for it. Really, it's a family company. My brother, two cousins own the company, but I've handled all the sales since 2013. This is going to be my 12th year in June. And, again, it's been a wild ride. We're here at the Two Brain Summit 2025, and it's been an amazing time working with Two Brain and getting to know Chris and everyone else who's in the Tinker program and just their growth program. So we're just grateful to be here again. We've done shirts for every summit since we've been here. And I think we're going to jump into like a little bit of an origin story and just like some tactical stuff. And yeah, I'm just excited to be here, and it's going to be another great week of catching up with everyone.
I think it's interesting too, because like, had you not said that, I would have always expected you were an owner, because you have such an ownership mindset. And I think that's crucial. Now, again, your family, still easier to have that, like, man, I'm not only helping myself, but I'm helping my own family succeed, and that really means a lot. But I still think that ownership mentality isn't something that comes naturally. Like, it's built.
Right? Absolutely. And I think, this is something that anyone can take away, but act like the owner. Whether you are an employee, you're a partner, act like the 100% owner on things, because you're going to have a different mindset. This isn't just like a job where I just work from 9 to 5. Most of my clients know that they've gotten emails from me at 5 a.m., at 10 p.m. So it's one of those things when you act like an owner, you're much more skin in the game, and, the success follows from there. So,
and I think that's what I mean when I talk to people and I tell them, like, the ownership mentality is noticeable because of the fact that, like, 95% of people, even if they think they have an ownership mentality, are clocking out, right? They're 9 to 5, whatever their hours are, like, that's their window of work. And then it's like off, sayonara, right? But for an ownership mentality, what we mean by that, just so people understand, if maybe this is a confusing topic or something that you have debated in the past, what he just said, what Matt just said is an ownership mentality, right? I don't turn it off after working business hours. I still think about this thing. I still treat it like it's my own. I still work. I still do things if I have the time it's a priority at the time. If I don't have anything else to do. So
no, I mean, when I was thinking about it, some client asked me a couple of months ago, they're like, how much time do you think you've put into this business? And I was like when I did the math, it was like 30,000 hours, and when you start dividing that by the amount of time, you're like, okay, I think about this business a little too much sometimes. But again, I love it. I tell gym owners, and I'm sincere about this, I owe gym owners everything I have, literally. So we're going to jump into that story and how we got here now. And I guess I'll start off with the story of how I even got here. So really, this started when I graduated from college. I graduated with $125,000 worth of student debt, and I was an education major. So I graduated with my master's degree, and honestly, it was a little naive and dumb about how far money goes. When you think like, oh, I'm going to make $60,000 a year, I'll be set. And then you get your student loan repayment notice and it's $1,200. And you're like, I'm going to need a second job here. So I was working out of college during the day. I was teaching night school at night. I was doing that for about 18 months after I graduated, and the night school program got canceled. And I was like, all right, let me just try and make this work on one salary. We'll go from there. I tried to make it work for 3 months. I kept coming up short, and I was like, I'm going to have to make a career change, because the college I was working at, it's one of those like gold watch places. You get hired, you'll be there for 30 years, but you got to put in 12 to 20 years until you start like making money there. And I was like, this is going to take too long, and I'm going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars in credit card debt on top of student loan debt. I was like, I'm not going to be able to make this work. So I was like, I need a different career. And I was like, I'm going to sell cars. I could sell cars. My dad sold cars growing up. I can make as much money as I want there. And before I was about to take this job at a car dealership, I called my older brother. I was like, hey, dude, before I take this car job, do you have anything I could do at Forever Fierce? And he's like, honestly, no. He's like, this is a side hustle, because back in 2012, this was very much a side hustle. Like, we'll do a custom job here and there for family and friends. My brother was a wrestling coach. He had contacts in the wrestling world, and he was doing stuff very seasonally for school sports. And he's like, there's just nothing consistent. He's like, honestly, no one takes a salary. We sort of just like take money out of the business when it's there, but no one's like killing it. And I was like, all right. And we were just talking a little bit more later in the conversation. He's like, I started doing this CrossFit thing. Have you ever heard of it? And I was like, no, I've never heard of this before. And he's like, it's a garage-based program. You just need like a barbell, a plyo box, a chin-up bar, and then you could like run around the neighborhood. And I was like, so no machines. And he's like, no machines, no dumbbells. Because we came from like Gold's Gym, you know? So like we're used to like, if you're going to go to a gym, it has to have like $7 million worth of equipment in there.
Right. And I think a lot of us yearn for the simplicity of those older CrossFit days when it was like, just go till you can't anymore.
Right.
And all you need is like $11 worth of shit you could buy like a Big Five or I don't know if you have played against sports with places with the reuse.
Of course. Yeah. That's where the first garage gym was built out of, honestly. And, you know, he was like, you know, and he explained the whole program to me, and I was like, I've never heard of this. And he's like, I'm thinking about killing some time in the summer becoming a CrossFit coach. I was like, dude, if you're doing this in your garage, who are you going to coach? And he's like, well, there's actually gyms that are where you can go and just do CrossFit only. I was like, there's a gym where there's no machines and people just do this CrossFit thing. He's like, yeah. I was like, how many of these gyms are there? He's like, I don't know. It looks like they're all booked up though for your L1. And I'm like, let's go on the website and see. And we went to the oldcrossfit.com website, and they had it very easy where you just like find an affiliate. They had the old Google map thing with all the pins in it. And we were like, dude, there's like thousands of these things. And I was like, let me click around, go to some of these social media pages. I was like, dude, there's like 3 or 4 dozen people in these classes. I was like, and it was like our eureka moment where we're like, let's reach out to gyms and see if we can sell apparel to gyms. And, you know, my brother had 2 young kids. He's a teacher by the day. So he didn't have time to coach me on this. We had no sales experience. And he was just like, all right, here's Matt at foreverfierce.com. Figure it out. So I made an Excel spreadsheet of every gym from Maine to Miami, and I'm just cold calling, cold emailing, Facebook messaging. I mean, most of you guys, if you've been around since 2012, probably have a message from me somewhere on your social media. But, you know, I struck out with probably like the first 3-4 dozen gyms, and I was like, I don't know if this is going to work out. And one gym owner did get back to me, and that was Matt at Ever Proven CrossFit. Shout out to Matt.
That name sounds familiar. I feel like I've interviewed him before.
A recent guest. And but Matt's been our day one, and he's really our foundational client. And again, I always give him and his team a lot of props to sticking with us throughout the years. And he was like, yeah, here's my logo, design something. If you've ever seen our designs, my cousin is the designer, and he does an incredible job with design work. Everything's always bold, eye-catching. It's very unique. So he sent Matt this design, and Matt was like, dude, this is awesome. Give me like 75 shirts. So I was like, hell yes. First sale, let's go. We're going to build this thing out from here. So we shipped the shirts to Matt, and radio silence. Didn't get back to me. I checked in because I wanted to make sure everything went well. Didn't hear from him. I was like, man, this dude is so pissed off. He doesn't even want to get back to me. I was like, we're really screwed here. And I kept striking out with all these gyms. And I was like, I talked to my girlfriend at the time who became my wife. I was like, babe, I'm going to have to go sell Hondas. This is it. And I was like, let's give it one more week. If not, we got to figure this out. And I literally woke up that Monday, and there was like 12 or 13 gyms who were like, hey, I was just at Matt's gym owner event. We need apparel too. Can you design shirts for us? And I was like, Matt who? And I was like, because I totally forgot. And then Matt was running these affiliate summits, if you want to call them. He was running these 2 Brain summits in Boston. He'd get all these New England gym owners to show up in Boston, and they do like a little business event. So they talk about business, training, everything. And he was giving a talk, and someone raised their hand, was like, dude, where did you get that shirt? And he's like, they're like, my local guy doesn't print shirts like that. And he was like, oh, this guy Matt at Forever Fierce, he said he'll do a design. Just reach out to him. He'll do it for free. So like I magically had 12 or 13 clients, and that's how it originally started. And that's how we originally got our first start with growing in the gym space.
And that's called traction, people. Like all it takes is one to get a couple. And then it's the traction's there, right? You got enough. Right. You have enough different people in your portfolio to be like, listen, look at all of these people that are happy with it. And now you have social proof.
Right. And then, so we just started growing. I was still cold emailing, cold messaging people. We were starting to get some traction there. Then I had case studies. So people saw like we actually had work done. We could show people stuff. And then we kept growing and growing. And then one of my clients called me and he's like, have you ever heard of this guy's name's Chris Cooper? I was like, never heard of him before. And he's like, look, I was just at this gym owner event and this dude was talking for 45 minutes straight and everyone was writing notes. And he's the only guy, it seems like, who has a model for running a profitable gym. He's like, to be honest, dude, a lot of us are struggling with this, but he like gave us like a firm model with like how to be profitable. And he's like, what I want you to do, reach out to him, see if you could sponsor the event, like go there, show up, table, sponsor his travel, do something. But he's like, if you want to grow, you got to talk to Chris. Cause he's like, everyone was like locked into what he's saying and he has all these other talks scheduled. I was like, all right, give me his email. So I email Chris, he gets back to me and he's like, honestly, that was the last talk I had with my contract with this previous company. I'm starting up a new company. It's called Two Brain Business. And I don't have a need for shirts right now, but if I ever need shirts, I'll call you. How does that sound? I was like, all right, sounds good. And I've gotten plenty of those emails in my life. I was like, I'm never going to hear from this dude again. And then magically, in August of 2016, he hit me back and he's like, hey, I need 37 shirts sent up. I'm doing something called the Two Brain Summit in my hometown. Can you get me 37 shirts up to Canada? I was like, sure, we'll get them up there for you. No problem at all. And then the cycle repeated again. And then that time I had like 24 gym owners who were like, hey, Chris said you're the shirt guy. Can you help us with that? And I was like, we definitely can. So we started growing that way. And, I heard you and Corey talking on the other episode about how, you kept getting Chris's emails. We kept getting Chris's emails. I was like, this is a great way for us to differentiate because we started to run up against, how are you guys different than the local guy? Or, and we were starting to compete like that. And I was like, there has to be something we could do to differentiate a little bit more than just design. So I reached out to Chris. I was like, hey, dude, we printed up those shirts for you, but would you ever do business coaching for a non-gym? And he's like, honestly, I'm not going to start writing content for t-shirt companies, but if you want, we can try and adapt this model to what you guys are doing and let's just see where it goes. So Chris Cooper was our personal business coach for probably 2 or 3 years at least. And I always give Chris credit during these podcasts, and people have heard me say this many, many times. I was actually at another gym owner event last year. The organizer gave me stage time, and I told this origin story, and I gave Chris credit. As soon as I walked off the stage, the dude pulls me aside. He's like, hey, don't do that ever again. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you don't have to mention Chris while you're here. I was like, but I do. Because the story involves Chris. And I always say this, that Chris is the architect of Forever Fierce. And like any good architect, they give you blueprints and a drawing with where you need to go. And then we're the general contractors. We actually had to build the house and execute on everything. But, making this gym owner centric, coming up with content and tactical pieces that gym owners can use, streamlining things, very little out-of-pocket costs for gym owners, but hyper focusing down on this niche as well. And again, he was the architect for a lot of this stuff. So I do give him a lot of credit for it. And, Chris's coaching with us went on for about 2 or 3 years. And he was the first one to be like, you need to do this full time. Because I'm still working at the college and I'm still doing things. It was one of those jobs at the college where you could put in 10 minutes of work a day and everyone was happy with it. So I'd spend all day doing Forever Fierce stuff at the college job. But he was the first one who was like, you really need to go in full time. And he's like, I'm telling you right now, you can do this, you can make it. And I started telling my family this. I was like, I think I'm going to do Forever Fierce full time. And this went on for 18 months and everyone's like, don't do it. You've never met this guy. He's some crazy Canadian guy. No one knows who he is. And like, what does he know about, you're working at, this prestigious college that people will stay at forever. And I was like, I don't know, I feel like this guy is onto something and I might as well take a shot. But we just kept building and building. And then one day Chris looked at my bank account because he was helping me with the finance stuff, like just getting my finances right. He's like, dude, you have enough to pay off the student loan. He's like, let's just kill it. Let's just get the student loan out from under you. I wrote a check for like $108,000 to the student loan servicer in one fell swoop. And then the next month I got the call with him and he's like, all right, this is it. You have to make the jump now. I was like, dude, I have like $800 in my bank account. He's like, perfect. You got nothing to lose then, right? And so I quit my job and my family called me up until the minute I put in my resignation letter and they were begging me, please don't do this. You're going to want to have kids one day. You're going to want to go on a vacation. You'll never be able to afford a house. This is a transient thing that will never last. And, that's why I continue doing this to today, because it's just a big F you to them and just to show them that, I'm not going to be deterred with this. And we've been doing this 12 years now. And I would have never made the jump if it weren't for Chris and believing in me. And it goes back to what you just said. One email can change your life, and it sounds cliche, it sounds stupid, but it's true. One email can truly change your life.
One email, one person, one connection. I tell people all the time, you have no idea if you quit now, if you were just one connection, one person, one moment away from like this massive trajectory change.
Right.
And, Coop is that type of guy. Like you get around him and he always knows someone or has something. And I've always really admired that about him, because I enjoy being that type of connector and myself of like, hey, I know a guy that needs what you do. Right. Like you guys need to connect and like putting people together. And I think, kudos to Coop too. I think the number one thing people need to understand about him, if they've ever been confused about him, is like, he's saying the same thing 30 other people said before him.
Right.
Hundreds of people have said after him, but no one has on his level been able to articulate it the way that he does and simplify it to such a level that anyone can understand and follow.
Right. And again, a lot of the things that we originally talked about on call one with him, we still implemented today. Yeah. He helped us with all of our key metrics that we follow. He helped us with the workflow process that gym owners like and enjoy today. We have a very simple 3-step process of design, samples, pre-order stuff. And again, all that stuff was day one talking points with him. And it's still stuff we still use today and have built on since.
Yeah, I think that it's just crazy, right? Like, and I don't want to make this all about Coop, but I think he deserves his flowers, especially since we're here at his summit here in Chicago. That, all the guy's done is connect people. All he's done is show the path, show the blueprint. It's guys like you that puts all the work in that are the reason it's successful. Because Coop could have said this for the last decade and no one did anything with it. And went, whatever, you crazy Canadian kook. And like, didn't do anything. And then poof, like none of this matters. So it's like, it equally falls on us, the clients, the people getting his emails for years and implementing what we learned that like matters too. And I know he would want that to be out there because, he's always very passionate about the fact that like, I can give you all the playbooks in the world, but if you don't do anything with it, there's zero value to it.
Yeah. And I remember that one time he sent me 25 books for free. And he was like, hey, if you could do me a favor, send these out to like your top 5 or top 25 favorite clients, I'd appreciate that. And now it's funny, you see these dudes in the Tinker program, like Derek Batman, Matt from Ever Proven, like all these guys wind up joining because they read that book and they're like, that was the tipping point. It's all these people where this is kind of what I feel like most of the people I've talked to, you get these emails, you tiptoe around it for a few years and you're like, I'm not going to do it. I'll just sort of follow things. And then you join and you're like, wow, I feel stupid for not joining,
Yeah,
it took me so long.
4 year smack in the head of like, you literally read his books and got his emails for 4 years before you signed up. Like, what an idiot.
Right. I think in terms of moving on from the origin story, one thing we talked about a little bit before we started talking is what's the number one issue gym owners deal with right now with apparel? And I think the biggest thing I wanted to talk about was the lack of a plan. I feel like all these gyms are sitting on gold mines with apparel. Members are asking them for apparel, and most gym owners have no plan at all. They sort of are very reactive with it. And when you're in a reactive state, that's when things get stressful. So like a member's going to walk up to you and say, and you've probably dealt with this 1,000 times, when are we doing hoodies? And you're like, I got 2 sick kids at home. My spouse is traveling for work and my morning coach just quit and you want hoodies. Okay, I guess I'm doing hoodies. And then like you get stressed out because you're like, I don't have a process. I don't have a vendor. I have to start all this. That's when people start hating apparel because it becomes a pain in the ass. And really with us, the biggest thing I could recommend is working. I used to be much softer about this. I used to be like, you know what, find a nice vendor that works for you. And you could do this with anyone. I'm going to be very direct with people. You need to work with Forever Fierce on your apparel because we're going to keep you on track. We're going to operate in a more proactive mindset for you. And really, we want to say, hey, Chris, now's the time to get the hoodie order going. Here's 40 design ideas to look at. Do you like any of these? Or, hey, I was thinking about this design. I saw it. I think it might work for your gym. What do you think? You're not going to get that with the local guy. I'm sorry. It might make you feel good to work with these local vendors. You're just not getting anywhere with it. So one thing I would recommend for all gym owners is get a plan, work with Forever Fierce directly. We specialize in gym owners, and you're going to see how much better this process can be when someone's working for you proactively and you're not in this reactive state.
And they also understand your process, right? You guys completely understand the seasonality of a CrossFit gym. You guys understand how to anticipate the issues we're going to run into, or at the very least, you understand and are able to anticipate what we need when we need it. So it's not June, and we're currently planning a summer order.
Right.
That won't be here until August. When people are like, man, I'm already kind of planning out my long sleeves and my sweatshirts for fall.
I mean, I just had a client a couple of weeks ago who was like, hey, can we get a hoodie order going? I'm like, dude, it's like May. Like, no one's ordering hoodies in May. And they're like, but we wear hoodies in May. People might wear hoodies in May. People don't buy that stuff until October, November. I have all the stats. And again, like, now this is the beauty of AI and all these programs is now I've fed all of our data into this stuff. And now it tells me like, here's exactly when things should be done. Here's what exactly works. So I could really leverage all that stuff and really give clients like the emotional side of things and the data side of things as well now.
Yeah, I think it's really incredible the way you guys work. I know you and I haven't worked together directly in a while because shout out to my ops manager Alex, my right hand.
Alex does a way better job than you with this process anyway.
Yes, she does. I guarantee she does, because she is very X's and O's, and I am very look at the squirrel. So
she keeps projects moving along. Shout out Alex. Does an amazing
shout
job.
out to her. She's a much better fit for that, because you guys are both, I think, very operational, and I am very much not. So I'm probably the antithesis of the people you want to work with. So if you don't have an ops person, get someone like that, because let me tell you, he's pulling his hair out dealing with guys like me. So,
but the second thing too that I see gym owners just don't make apparel a priority, and they say, look, I didn't start this business to become a clothing boutique. I didn't start this business to do t-shirts. I'm a fat loss coach. I'm a powerlifting coach. This is what I do. That's all I care about. You can do that. And in this day and age, I just heard a podcast with someone talking about this model, but you need to start building a social aspect into your gym. If you're just going to compete on, we're the sweatiest gym in town, we get people results, we have the best coaches. Look, every gym and every franchise gym, it's very hard to distinguish between them now because everyone competes on that stuff. If you want to differentiate, you need to have some type of social component to the gym. And look, I'm not going to make up a fake story about the magic t-shirt that kept 300 members around or attracted all these new members. But what I am going to tell you is that apparel has binded people to communities for thousands of years through military, religious, and civilian uses. At your sporting event, there's a reason why everyone goes nuts. Everyone's wearing the same t-shirt and things like that. It plays a part into building a community. And one way you can differentiate yourself with the social stuff is tell people that in these new calls. Like when you have a sales meeting with someone, tell them, hey, most gyms are going to focus on being sweaty or doing coaching, but with us, we're really going to focus on more of the social aspect of things. Here's our social calendar. Here's what we do. Here's pictures from our last Memorial Day event. Everyone's wearing the same shirt. Everyone looks like they're on the same team. And these are easy differentiators. But again, if you think you're just going to do this whole, like, we have the best coaches, we have a sweaty gym, it's going to be really hard to compete, especially in the click to cancel era that is upon us here now.
Yeah, I think it's important too for people to realize, like, they want to belong to something. Right. Everybody has a desire to belong. And apparel is a great way to show off you belong somewhere. Right. You're a part of a tribe. You're a part of a crew, whatever. Apparel is an amazing way to do that. Well, I do have a question on this.
Sure.
I know you're a data guy, so you're probably going to have an answer right off the top of your head on this. When a gym owner goes through Forever Fierce, what is an average ROI they could expect? I mean, I give and take, like, how many hours should they expect to work on this themselves? And then based on that, like an average gross or maybe net profit number they could expect. Because I think a lot of people would be interested to find out it's not as much time as they think.
Right.
Unless they're me and they're like looking at it and then they don't come back to it for 3 weeks. And then they look at it again and go, oh, yeah, that's the idea, right? So, I mean, I'm guessing no more than 2 hours of total time in an order.
This process should only take you, time on task, 30 minutes.
Again, back to the squirrel. That's a 2-hour task for me.
Because again, it doesn't take you very long to look at a design and say, I like this, I don't like this. It's the people who drag this stuff on where they're like, we need to do a vote. bonus tip, don't do votes. You're never going to get people to agree on fashion apparel. So it should only take you about 30, 45 minutes all in time on task to get us feedback and then line up the marketing stuff. Another stat is our average order size this year is about 48 pieces. So again, that's about, most of the gyms we work with are somewhere between 100 to 200 members. So we have somewhere between 50% to, 30% of gyms taking part in the pre-orders in these orders. Most gyms will make somewhere between, I would say, $500 to $850 per apparel order. That's net profit. And most of our clients work with us 4 to 6 times a year. So you could times all those numbers by 4 to 6.
So you're talking profitability. If you broke this down into ROI, into an effective hourly rate for someone that wants to know, is this worth my time? Go ahead and ask yourself, is there anything you can do in the gym right now that can make you $400 to $800 an hour?
Right.
I can't think of anything.
Right. And look, I'm not going to say you're going to go out and lease a new Corvette with the profits from your t-shirts, but it's a nice little bonus to offset some of the churn you're going to deal with. Every business deals with it, but just like have this stuff in place because it's free money. Like your members want this stuff. They're going to ask for this stuff. Give them the stuff. You know, and most of the gym owners I talk to, it's like people are asking for this stuff. No one's ever asked me for apparel. Like 99% of the calls I'm on, they're like, people keep asking for this stuff. I just don't know where to go with it. I don't know how to start it. So the opportunity's there. I just think people, they dilly-dally, they drag their feet. They think it's going to be a nightmare process. It doesn't have to be like that. And I know people come from these processes with the local vendor where it did take 6 months or it did take a long time. It doesn't have to be like that, and just give us a shot and I'll show you that we can have these projects wrapped up quick and have the order printed and out the door in 2 weeks.
I love that because you know what, and this goes beyond gym owners. I think there's a lot of businesses with a strong clientele, with a really supportive clientele that could really do some damage with apparel. And I think there's a failure to launch issue based on fear of this being an overwhelming process. And what you've proven time and time again for me and Alex and anyone else that I talk to that works with you is it really isn't. What would you tell someone that maybe they're like, man, I really want to get into this. I want to do it. I know apparel is important, but like you said, I've got these other things. I'm trying to save lives. I'm trying to do all these things. What is that? Is it the marketing? Is the apparel important from the marketing, from the profit standpoint? What is it that really makes apparel stand out for businesses? Like, because you look at the best ones, they all have it.
Right. And that's the one thing I tell gym owners is that you don't know, like, trust or admire any gym out there who doesn't have apparel. They all have it. And I think the most important thing is when you work, the beauty of this process will scale to any business, right? Right now, too, we're also trying to work more with gun ranges and other people who have membership-based businesses, right? So we want to just have people feel like they're like the belonging thing you mentioned. And really, I just boil this down to a really simple 3-step process where we're going to work on the design. We're going to send you garment samples to overcome the objections you're going to get. Because people are worried about the objections. They're worried about, well, this person's going to be picky about this, and then we're not going to know how things fit and feel, and then I have to deal with returns. We get ahead of all these objections where we do send garment samples to your business ahead of time so you know how things fit and feel. They're free. I don't charge for them. I pay $100,000 out of my own pocket to send them every year. So it's one of those things where, again, you just need to work with a vendor who has this process optimized. So we're going to design, send samples, then we're going to help you run the pre-order, because this is where a lot of gym owners start hating apparel when they're like, we're going to have to run a pre-order. That's more administrative work for me. So that's why we've optimized our web store right now. Our web store on Shopify, on all of Shopify, we are one of the highest converting web stores on all of Shopify. Our conversion rate is 8 to 15% on average. Our best clients will have a 30 to 40% conversion rate in e-commerce. You can go Google this. You could chat GPT it. These conversion rates are out of this world. So,
there's a reason we stopped doing an online store. Yeah. And it was because the conversion was awful.
Yeah. But really one of those things where most of these people just don't have a good process for it, and I think once you once you standardize this and you show them, here's how easy it could be, here's how we could take all this stuff off your plate, people are like, okay, now we can do this. But when a gym owner has to learn all these hard lessons, that's when they're like, okay, this is not worth it. And one mistake, you take down the wrong sizes, you don't approve something the right way. That's a very expensive mistake to replace 60 shirts. So, yeah.
And with local vendors, I've had that problem so many times where shirts have just been wrecked. And it's like, I know on the off chance something has come in bad, and it's rare. Right. With Forever Fierce, it's always corrected immediately. It's always like a one-off. It's not 30 shirts that were misprinted at an angle.
No, we have a very tight, our error rate. I always tell people our error rate up front, our error rate over the past few years is 0.017%. So again, our error rate is very, very low. When mistakes happen, we always make it right. I've never stuck a gym owner with an order in my life. So there was actually a gym in California recently, and here's an example of like what we're willing to do to make things right. Dude put in the wrong shipping address. We shipped like 50 shirts, comfort color shirts, to an old address of him that he didn't live at for the past 10 years. And he was like, hey, I cannot replace this order. I need to get this to my members. Can you please help me out? And we just reprinted it for free for him. That's the type of stuff where I really don't care whose fault it is. It could be my fault, could be your fault. I don't really care. We just need to get this fixed. And I don't keep score with that stuff. It's like, let's just get it fixed and move on with things. But, another thing I hear from people is the customer service sucks with the local person. They wanted to argue with me about stuff. Like, look, if you have an issue with something, you don't have to argue. You don't have to call me yelling and screaming about t-shirts. Say, hey, we got a shirt. There was a hole in it. Can you replace it, refund it? No problem at all. Would love to do that. Sorry it happened, but we'll get it fixed for you. But again, working with vendors who specialize in gym owners is a huge key. It's a cheat code. And I think more gym owners really need to start doing that.
So, on that part, I know you have worked with tons of gym owners, and you've worked with, it's got to be in the hundreds at this point.
Oh, thousands. Yeah,
thousands.
I always say now, I was doing the math. There's probably only 2 or 3 people on planet Earth who have talked to more gym owners than myself. One is Chris. The other's probably Alex Hormozy, and then maybe 1 or 2 other people. But I've talked to thousands of gym owners. I'm on track to speak to at least 1,200 gym owners this year alone during sales calls and just consultations and stuff. So yeah, it's been thousands of gym owners. I've processed personally like 28,000 orders myself.
So that's a packed schedule.
Right.
How are you balancing that with the wife and kids at home? Like, talk about that. I mean, I know there's no perfect strategy, right, but for someone out there that's like, damn, Matt has a similar demand on his time that I do, but I don't feel like I have the time. Like, there's always an excuse. But how do you kind of make that time? I know we kind of discussed that a little bit.
When I told my friends and family I was going to be on the Balanced CEO podcast, everyone laughed out loud. Like literally didn't even give it a chance. They laughed out loud. They're like, you do not need to be giving anyone any advice on being balanced, dude. Don't even. But I mean, honestly, the one thing I have done that has been a real cheat code that has skyrocketed our business sales, personal financial situation, I honestly stopped watching sports. I stopped most hobbies, to be honest, and I started waking up much earlier. So I wake up at 4:30 a.m. and I just jump right into business. And I know some people need the morning to do the meditation stuff and do everything. Right. I literally just jump right into it. And, that morning time has been good for me to give me time to think, write content, think of different ideas and different angles and offers for people. But I wish I could say I had a little more balance in my life, but my day probably starts at 4:30. It doesn't really end until about 10. And, obviously we have an 8-month-old girl at home now. So things have changed a little bit in terms of where I'm not super locked in for a full 15 to 16 hours a day. But for me personally, if you're one of those people who you're like, you get a little angry or you feel like college football. I live in Tallahassee, Florida. Florida State Seminoles, humongous thing in town. And I was finding myself where I was like, man, I am so wrapped up in this team right now, where I'm thinking about the team. I'm mad when they lose. I got fantasy football. I'm gambling. I'm doing all this stuff. And it's just a distraction, and it's like, this is the time in my life where when you talk to older people, I once read a book. It's called On Death and Dying. And it's an older book. It's about interviewing all these people who are about to die. And they all say the same thing. I probably should have tried this. I should have given it my all. I shouldn't have messed around as much. And it's one of those things where I don't want to look back in 20, 30 years from now. Maybe I'm not doing t-shirts anymore, where it's like, this is a pretty good gig. I was able to work with my family, work with people I wanted to, but I didn't take it seriously enough. I was like too into the UFC. I was too into, football, basketball. I was into all these sports, but I didn't really like leave it all on the field for myself. And honestly, I've cut out all sports. I don't gamble anymore, any of that stuff. And, I still obviously make a lot of time for fitness and wellness, things like that. But in terms of balance, it's a lot of work right now.
So balance is kind of, the reality of it is what I'm trying to show people is that you can have harmony between these three.
Oh yeah, I'm not resentful of
right?
it.
So like you can have harmony you can create some sort of harmonious tone between health, family, and business, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not really balance, but harmonious CEO just didn't have the same ring to it as balanced CEO. But in reality, I think the real definitive word here is harmony.
Right.
Where you have found a harmony between your desire to work and your love for what you do with your love for your family and the need to keep yourself healthy and like mentally strong.
Right.
Right. And so my point when I ask these questions is like, how do you create that harmony? Right. Because it's 3 different octaves. Right. If you're thinking of almost like a chorus, you've got your 3 different octaves, your high, your low, and your middle. And together, when done right, it creates harmony. It creates this really nice sound.
Right.
For everyone, it's a little different. For you, it's heavy on work. For me, it's heavy on family and health right now. I think seasonality kind of comes into play too. You might go, well, now with an 8-month-old, you're probably still heavy in work. But when they're 2 or 3 and they start having activities and things going on, that might change a little bit.
Absolutely.
That harmony and that pitch and tone changes a little bit.
Right.
But ultimately, what people need to know is that there's a million different types of people out here finding a way to cut the bullshit, cut the excuses, and make all 3 work together.
Right. And I think for me, I just know that, there's certain things that are important to me, right? Like we like to go on vacation and stuff, and we have a certain lifestyle I like to upkeep. And it's just one of those things where it's like, I have to do all this to make that work, and again, there's just too many people I'm surrounded by where, one thing, and this is like a personal story I've never really shared, but like one thing, like when my dad was selling cars, like the business started to fail. And instead of like kind of regrouping or going all in on doing something or, just recomposing things, he kind of just like quit and was just like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. And it was just like, and everything sort of fell apart after that. And it was like, you know what? It doesn't have to be like that. You could keep your foot on the pedal. And you do all this stuff so you can go on vacation and not have to sweat about bills. And because again, I've been in 3-digit debt, I've paid all that off. And for me personally right now, it's like, I don't ever want a bill to come up where I'm like, how the hell am I going to pay this? Something comes up, you need a new car, something needs to get paid. No problem. No sweat. Right. And I think, Joe Rogan talks about this a lot, but he says like, you want to be able to go to the restaurant. They send you the bill at the end of the night. No sweat. I got it. We're good. Nothing to stress out about. He said, no matter how much money I made, that's always the number one thing. If I could pay the restaurant bill, we're good. And that's kind of where I'm at right now too.
And that's something I totally agree with. And I talk about in my book is if your ultimate goal is chasing money to solve problems, you're doing it wrong. Money is not going to solve problems. It's not going to make you happy. If you're unhappy, more money is not going to solve that. But if you're happy, you're content with your life, money can amplify that 10 million times over, right? Because like you said, the less you have to worry about saying yes to things and experiences and moments and visiting new places and shit like that, or you have something come across your desk and you're like, it's a massive bill and you're like, oh, okay, well, I pay. That's where I got this bank account for. So that is the complete opposite of my life sucks. If I make more money, it'll suddenly get better.
Right.
Right. Once you're on the other side of that, where it's like life is good, money can just simply amplify that to the moon. But if you're still on the bottom of that of life sucks, money's not going to solve. You got to fix that shit first.
Right. But it's really, you look back at like 12 years and, most businesses fail somewhere in that 3 to 5 year range. And, again, it's different when you work with family. There's no HR department.
Oh God, no. I know all about that with my wife's company.
Yeah, there's no HR department. And, credits to my brother and 2 cousins. They've really like just flipped me the keys on the business and said, hey, wherever you think we're going with this, let's go. And when I bring up new ideas, obviously we talk about it. Someone has a disagreement, but if I'm convicted about something with, hey, we really need to sponsor this 2Brain Summit, because we've cut back a lot of expenses just because like sponsorships and stuff this year, because inflation is crushing the apparel industry. So we were like, hey, are we doing the 2Brain Summit? I was like, hell yeah, we're doing the 2Brain Summit. We're doing that, so a credit to them for really flipping me the keys and letting me sort of drive this ship. But, yeah, I mean, the balance stuff, the harmony stuff, that's a better way to think about things. But it'll be interesting to see where the next 5 years of this business goes for sure.
I think that's really important, is that whole harmonious thing, right? Because that harmony changes. Like, you can put more emphasis anywhere as long as you're not neglecting that third key.
Right.
And that's my point that I always tell people, is like, you can go through a season where you're not working out all that much, but you can't stop.
Right.
You can go through a season where you got to put all your effort into your business and your fitness just to be able to keep up with the effort level required in your business. But you can't just ignore your family. Right. You can't be like, hey guys, just deal with it for the next 3 months. You're not going to see me. Like, that's not going to, like, no one's going to put up with that bullshit for long.
Yeah.
You still have to find a way to keep them in the fold. And like, even if it's one date night a week or a 3-hour window on a Sunday where you're just like, all right, whole family, sit down. We're going to hang out together and make a memory. And that's the only time you get with me. But like, they're going to remember that.
Right. That's probably the one thing I have to work on, is just enjoying some of that downtime and making a little bit more intentional time on things. Obviously with a newborn, it's hard, but trying to figure out like what is she going to be into and all that, and finding activities now. My wife is temporarily retired. She's staying at home, and it's been an adventure the past 8 months, watching her, be at home and not having to do the 9 to 5 thing. But, again, that's another reason why I do all this stuff, is to let her stay home. And, it's stressful. The day to day gets stressful with taking care of a baby. But I think when she looks back on it, she'll enjoy that, because all the other ladies in the neighborhood will say like, oh, I wish I could do that. And she's like, you should, stay home and see what it's like for, doing the baby thing 18 hours a day. But, no, I mean, that's another reason what's driving me so hard right now. But yeah, I mean, there's always stuff to improve on with this, but right now it's pedal to the metal. We're
absolutely.
So the one thing that's been a game changer for us, honestly, over the past year is just because we're not doing a lot of these events or partnerships anymore, was we hired a cold email marketing team, and these guys are complete animals, and they'll book me anywhere between 35 to 75 calls a month. And that's been a huge accelerant on our business. And, I'm excited to see what year 2 looks like with these guys, but that's been a huge thing for us, where I just felt like maybe we were being a little too soft with going after clients, and just, it's not even going after people. It's like, hey, we exist, dude.
It's
and like
the pestering. I think we sometimes talk ourselves out of, because we kind of get in our own heads about, well, it would annoy me, but it's like, you don't know if that person's not even looking at every 8 out of every 9 emails, and then finally the 9th one they actually look. So you haven't been bugging them at all. You're just hitting them frequently enough that you finally catch their eye. Yeah, and then you jump on the phone with these people and they're like, how long have you been doing this? I was like, I've been doing this 12 years. And they're like, I should have done this like 10 years ago, dude. And so it's been fun to talk with more gym owners. I get a lot more experience sales wise with that stuff, and really seeing what matters and just crafting a better offer. And that's what we've been doing for the past year, really. Right on, man. I want to respect your time. Is there anything you want to tell gym owners or business owners in general that have a membership based business looking to amplify their I got one bonus tip I really just want to leave people with, and this is very actionable. I know many people have heard me talk about some of these things, but one of the things I wanted to talk about was, what's one thing gym owners can walk away with? And the most important thing that gym owners can walk away with right now is doing incentives with their orders. This is going to increase your sales. There's 4 key incentives on every order: price, deadline, samples, and a special guide. I'm going to run through these quick. I'm going to do a much longer video on this one day, but a price incentive is not a discount. So if we're doing a price incentive, we want to pitch it as a special introductory price point. So,
hey, we're doing our summer 2025 merch order. We have a special introductory price of $29.99. If you buy my inventory, I'm going to have some inventory here. The inventory is $38. And this is going to get people to move unlike anything you're going to do. And most gym owners will be like, well, I'll do the discount of like 22 and then we'll sell the inventory for 30. This is wrong. People sell t-shirts these days for $30 a shirt.
I seen you post about that and I loved it because I was like, not enough people are vocal about the fact that like the average apparel company now is like $40 minimum for like a high quality brand.
It's crazy. And I think gym owners really cheap out on themselves. Rogue Fitness, Mayhem, Sorinex. Again, these are all great companies and they're the leaders with price and apparel. You go to Mayhem, you pay for a shirt with shipping, it's $42. And it's like most gym owners are like, what? It's like, yeah, dude, like they're charging a lot. You're not. You should like, I'm not saying to rip members off, but like just charge what you're worth. But a price incentive works. The second one is samples. Again, as I mentioned, that's the biggest objection people have about buying new clothes. Has a fit, has a feel. I send you those samples, tell members samples exist at the front desk. The third one's a deadline. Some gym owners will be like, pre-orders open till the end of the month. Don't do this. You're not going to pick up that one person who cycles through the gym in 18 days. Like just do it for 7 days, get in, get out, put pressure on people to make a decision. And the last one's an advanced sales strategy that only the top 1% of the 1% will ever do. But basically it's a special guide. If you pre-order my summer 2025 merch if you pre-order the summer 2025 merch collection, you're going to get a special guide. It's my top 5 favorite high protein breakfast ideas. Just send me a screenshot, send me your receipt. I'll send you the guide. Look, if 50 people pre-order stuff, only 15 people are going to ask for the guide. Now you have a nice, easy list of who's interested in nutrition stuff. And now you can set a reminder on your phone and say, hey, Tom, I saw you download the top 5 favorite high protein breakfast ideas. What'd you think of the recipe? 99% of the time, people are going to say, haven't done it yet. Okay, well, now this is good. Why haven't you done it yet? I've been really sick. I've been busy with kids. I know my nutrition's fallen off. I feel a little lost right now. I was hoping the guide would, put me in the right direction. No problem. Why don't you come in on Saturday at 10:30? We'll map out your meals for the next 7 to 10 days. If you like it, we can add nutrition coaching on for only a couple months and we'll fall off. But let's get you back into doing healthy habits. Let's get you back on track. How does that sound? You're offering people free services, a free guide, and then that nutrition coaching will drop off. Too many people sell these high ticket fitness things and then people think they're on this merry-go-round forever, but you're giving people an off-ramp to do that, but you're also now re-engaging these conversations. You had no idea Tom was interested in nutrition stuff. Now he is. Higher ticket service. Parlay t-shirts into higher ticket services.
Yo, I hope every single person rewinds right now that last 5 minutes and takes copious notes, because that was probably the most valuable thing that has been shared on this podcast in a long time. I know I'm going to go back as soon as this is uploaded and have my VAs clip that shit for me to share with my whole team, because that was absolutely invaluable to any gym owner. You just got to be willing to put the work in. And right. I think that's the thing, guys. Don't be afraid to sell your services for what they're worth. Don't be afraid to sell shirts for $30 because like, people always get mad when we go to concerts, these major arena concerts. They don't realize the headlining band, their favorite band is an opener. They're so excited to see them and they go to buy a shirt and it's $45, $50. Mm-hmm. They don't realize in these major arena concerts, when they sign on to be the opening act, the headlining band generally has a requirement that all bands sell their shirts for the same price as whatever they set. So if they set their price at $60, that's what every band, including the brand new opening band, has to sell their shirts for. And guess what? They sell.
And here's how we just put all these incentives together. Now, here's what most gym owners do. One Facebook post or one Instagram post, a story, and they say, summer merch collection available, click here. Why do I need to click here? There's no incentive. Now, if we just wrap all these incentives I just talked about, summer 2025 merch collection available now. I have sizing samples at the front desk. The deadline is Friday at 11:59 p.m. We're doing this as a special introductory price point of $29.99. I will have some extras and inventory left over. Heads up, I'm being very firm about this. The extras in inventory, they're really meant for drop-ins only, not members. So if you want to buy one, they're $38 a piece. And if you order during the pre-order window, I'm going to send you a free guide, my top 5 favorite high protein breakfast ideas. Please order here. Here's how to order. That's much more. That's a much more compelling offer than simply click here if you want merch.
I love it, man. I really appreciate your time. That was incredibly valuable. Really appreciate talking ownership mentality. I mean, what you're doing is incredible. The work ethic that you have is awesome and inspiring. And I mean, honestly, I hope to see you back on here when your daughter's a little older and see how that harmony has shifted, with all the desires of a young girl with, gymnastics and everything else that comes along with that. So
I'm looking forward to it. It's always fun adapting, and I've seen it's fun to follow our clients and how they've adapted as well. So I know if they could do it, I could adapt with it. But as always, thank you so much for having me. If anyone would like to reach out, Matt at foreverfierce.com, foreverfierce.com. You can go and book a call with us. Call's free. Should take less than 5 to 8 minutes, and we'll get you set.
Highly recommend it. You cannot go wrong with Matt and Forever Fierce. And as always, keep digging in.